people really want to ask something as I'm talking about it, they can unmute themselves and do that. Yeah, but ideally maybe say.
And Joe Kelly.
Cool.
Hi, Joe Kelly. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so pleased today to have Joe Kelly, who's a Institute of Integrative Nutrition trained health coach, oil connoisseur, and major awesome accountant. No, say that.
What a compliment. What a compliment. Mate, don't make me sound boring, buddy.
And this is Lou Dog, who is probably the best teacher of essential oils that we have in our whole team. So we're going to let him start today with presenting the oils. So Lou Dog, take it away, mate.
Hey, so Lou Dog, Louis was thinking about what he could contribute, and he wanted to say about what we eat, didn't you? And what's healthy and what's not healthy. So what is it, mate?
Meat and lollies are not healthy, but fruit and vegetables are healthy.
There you go. So that is as simple as that, guys. And Louis, what can you do if you have a sore tummy?
Put my tummy oils on.
Yeah, you put your tummy oils.
You open it, but just with twisting. This way is open, this way is closed.
Okay, yeah. And so it's the Tamer. The kids blend, and it comes in a roller bottle called Tamer. And in fact, I use that too. Adults can use the kids' oils. They're an amazing little combo.
Yeah, and also they can have lids.
Okay, cool. So, Louis, thank you. Can you please go back to doing what you were doing downstairs?
Okay.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so guys, my name's Joe. I am a certified health coach. Actually, Amy has done the exact same course as me, so really she could take this talk. And I guess my journey to explore, like, understanding gut health started about 3 years ago, and I had been progressively going downhill health-wise. So largely I had gut issues, and I'd been diagnosed for a long time with inflammatory, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which is actually, funnily enough, not really a diagnosis. It's just a name for a group of symptoms where they can't actually come up with a genuine diagnosis for you. So it kind of keeps you happy and makes you go away. And stop asking them questions about what you can do. And that is a massively common problem. And I will come back and talk about that a little bit later, because I know some of you will be looking for ways to deal with that. I eventually got diagnosed with colitis. I was working 80-hour weeks. I had a 2-year-old. My marriage was falling apart. And my mental health had never been worse. You know, it's fluctuated a lot over my lifetime, but yeah, all of these things are really interrelated, as you'll find out. So I sort of hit rock bottom and decided I needed to sort myself out. So I went on a journey of being a bit sick of the health system not really helping me resolve this. I've been given a bunch of medications that helped mask symptoms, but nothing was actually dealing with the problem. So I have, kind of gone on this journey of self-education, and I'm empowered now. I kind of see my health as my own responsibility. I don't rely on others to tell me what I should be doing, and I just actually think that that's the way everybody should approach their health, regardless of what they've got going on. So that kind of leads me into the first point I'm making, and we're talking about gut health, but really our gut health is impacted so much by all the other elements of our life. So I can post this later below the recording in the Essentialists, but if you were to Google the circle of life, from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, or IIN, you will get a nice little image. So I'll just tell you what all the things are that impact our health. So this is the circle of life. Obviously, there is nutrition, so that's home cooking, home environment, relationships, social life, joy, spirituality, creativity, finances, career, education, health, physical activity. So like a way that's a friend of mine who's also a dietitian and nutrition and all that jazz, who I used to work with when I first came unstuck or first hit rock bottom, she said to me, look, Jo, you can shove all the kale you like up your ass, but if you are stressed to the max, that kale is not even going to be digested properly, so you're kind of wasting your time. So I can't stress enough how important it is to sort out a lot of the other things in your life as well as just food. Okay, and it doesn't have to be hard or overwhelming, and even if you just took 1 or 2 little steps of the many things that many tips that I'm going to give you that you could be doing, that's so much better than doing nothing. So I kind of and just start with something and carry on adding to it. So that's my kind of best advice. And different people will have different issues, so you might take different things away from this. So for my circle of life, you can do a little exercise where you can rate each of those things, and then really once you see which one is in the worst shape, that's the thing to go start with, right? Start working on that first. So for me, introducing a daily gratitude practice has been quite massive. I use the 5-minute, is it called the 5-minute journal? I think it's called the 5-minute journal. I think Buffy might even sell them on her website. Anyway, you can probably just find the page online, but really you're just writing down 5 things you're grateful for today at the end of each day. It's as simple as that. And do write them down or say them out loud. But take 2 minutes to do that at the end of each day, and honestly it will massively impact your life. Another thing that I do now is I'm not super strict on this stuff, I forget all the time, but I do breathing techniques. I learnt meditation. I learnt it through a lady called Lauren Godfrey, and she's based in Grey Lynn. Highly recommend learning meditation with her if you're interested in that. I did a mindfulness course, but breathing techniques are quite massive. So there is, try and find it, there is a man who does a good video on YouTube, and I can post this. His name is Dr. Weil, Andrew Weil, W-E-I-L. He does a technique called the 4-7-8 breath. So wake up in the morning, do that. It takes 30 seconds or something like that. Do that last thing at night before you go to sleep, and do it throughout the day when you're starting to feel overwhelmed. So if you Google 4-7-8 breath, Dr. Weil, you'll get a quick little YouTube video showing you how to do that. And the other massive thing is exercise. So as soon as I let my exercise regime go out the window, my mental health suffers, and I notice a massive connection with how I'm feeling mentally and how my gut is operating. So I know there's foods that my body doesn't love that much, but as soon as I'm in a bad mental space, I notice way more that those foods, I just can't really eat them. So that's kind of the top things that I've found anyway, and obviously nutrition, which we're going to talk more about. So a good way that something that really resonated with me when I was learning about this was the crowding out principle. So this is not don't eat this food, do eat that food, but just try to eat more of the foods that you know are good for you, and by default you'll be eating less of the stuff that's not great for you. So basics of nutrition really are less meat. So meat's you know, we all have different opinions on this, but try and treat meat more as a side portion rather than the main event. Focus on your vegetables, less meat, less milk, less sugar, and less processed or artificial foods. So if it's come in a packet and it's been processed, just try and minimize that stuff. Less coffee and alcohol, more fruits, vegetables, whole foods, appropriate protein, so we'll touch on that a bit later, and drinking enough water. Try and drink 2 liters of water a day. It's actually not really that hard to do, and in fact, the more water you drink, the less hungry you're going to get, and you're not probably going to snack as much throughout the day, so that can be helpful for some. And what I do is try and strive for the 80-20 principle. So 80% of the time I follow my ideal eating plan, and then 20% of the time I fall off the bandwagon. Like when I get my period, mate, chocolate and white chocolate. So just don't beat yourself up about it. Just try and do well most of the time. So coming back to being the master of your own health, it might sound harsh, but we don't really have a healthcare system as such in New Zealand. In my view, we have more of a disease management system and a symptom management system. And the fact of it is that actually most of the diseases that we see seriously prevalent in society these days can be prevented by lifestyle factors majority of the time. But our healthcare system focuses more on treatment than prevention. So this is where I'm saying take your health into your own hands. And look at it's that circle of life. Those are the things that impact it. Stress, sleep, nutrition, breathing, environmental toxins, that's a massive one. So if you can start replacing a bunch of your household products with natural alternatives, this be skincare, cleaning products, etc., you're already off to an amazing start. Our skin absorbs all of this, and it's all processed in our gut and our liver. So if our liver is overloaded processing toxins, then it doesn't really have the capacity left to deal with like our hormones that it processes, and you know, every drug that we take that we put in our system, that gets processed by our liver. So overloading our liver can then cause massive issues with our gut as well. So you know, any toxins that we can remove and live more naturally, that's going to make a massive difference. So the major diseases that seem to affect most of us, top 3 are kind of cancers, neuron degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. These are actually all inflammatory diseases. So, Louis, darling, I do need you to please not talk, okay? It's really important. So anything we can do to have our bodies producing a better inflammatory response is a great thing. So inflammation in our inflammatory response is not actually a bad thing. It's just that for most of us, it's being overstimulated because of what we're doing with our lifestyle. So my first kind of tip is that you can try and have a more anti-inflammatory diet. So turmeric is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory agents that's been studied to date. You know, in India, they eat a lot of turmeric in their food, and they have the lowest rate of Alzheimer's disease in the world. So go figure, right? We have turmeric oil. doTERRA sells turmeric oil, and the easiest way I've found to do that is if you have a smoothie each day or most days, put a couple of drops of turmeric oil into it. Easy. Another way I do it is I take my Lifelong Vitality in the morning, and I put a drop or 2 of turmeric into my glass of water while I'm taking that. You can also put it into a veggie capsule, and it's going to get digested in your gut there. So that's one thing you can be doing. I cannot stress enough how epic our Lifelong Vitality supplements are. So 90% of us are deficient in selenium, for example, and a lot of us are deficient in a lot of nutrients. And it is actually quite hard to get all that we need from just our diet, just what we eat. So if you get into that lifelong vitality supplement, which has a 30-day money back guarantee, that's how confident they are about it. That's an epic start. So it's got turmeric in it, it's got frankincense in it, which is a lot of people use for things that are inflammatory related, like chronic pain, neurocognitive things. So I know I'm not actually being compliant here. I'm trying. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in there. So I'd suggest you give that a go. For me, I've seen the biggest change in my energy levels, my mood, and my digestion, like my digestive happiness, right? So you should notice quite a difference within 30 days. It also happens to be doTERRA's #1 selling product. So I don't think it would be that rated that highly if it wasn't seriously effective for a lot of people. So then when it comes to carbohydrates, a lot of people think carbohydrates are the enemy. And this is really not true. So carbohydrates, a good basic rule is to go low GI. So you can Google low glycemic index foods, right? So it's things like brown rice, quinoa, buckwheat. So high GI carbs are digested but by converting to sugar, and this causes spikes in our blood sugar levels. So when this happens, there are abnormal reactions between proteins and carbohydrates in the body, and the product of those reactions is a pro-inflammatory response. So that's kind of the basics of why low GI is considered the best way to do it when it comes to carbohydrates. So our brain actually needs carbohydrates to survive. So if you're on a zero carb diet, at some point things are going to start not going that well for you, and from what I've seen. I've tried that diet myself, kind of feel good for a while, and then things start not feeling great in the body. So dark chocolate, if you're looking for things to eat that are helpful, dark chocolate and 1 glass of red wine a day have a really high antioxidant content, so 70% plus cocoa. Those are some great things to treat yourself with that are actually quite good for you. If you were to Google Dr. Weil's anti-inflammatory food pyramid, Dr. W-E-I-L, anti-inflammatory food pyramid, that gives you quite a good comprehensive guide as to the good way to sort of what things you should have in your diet. So that I recommend you maybe go have a look at that. Okay, so our gut microbiome, what is it and why is it important? So our body is made up of 1 trillion cells. So that's what, all matter is made up of cells. So we are about 1 trillion cells. Within our body, we have around 10 trillion gut bacteria or gut microbiome, right? So we're actually these walking hosts to other living creatures. So getting our gut microbiome in a really good place has a massive effect on our health, both physical and mental. So these organisms they're bacteria and fungi mainly. They're both on our skin and inside us, and mainly they live in our colon and also in the female reproductive tract. They're unique to each individual, but us, those of us in the Western world will have quite similar microbiome versus those in other parts of the world, and that's largely based on what we eat. So the modern industrialized food-like substances, so a lot of processed food, which I am actually even reluctant to call food, we consume a lot of that these days, especially in the Western world. These foods stimulate a very different population of organisms than whole natural foods. So trying to go unprocessed is massive. So another issue is the overuse of antibiotics. So this is a big reason why organic and free range are really important. So organic foods are those that the animals have not had antibiotics used in them. So these antibiotics, even when we consume them through the animal products that we eat, they wreak havoc in the microbiome. Antibiotics are needed in about 10% of the instances which they are now prescribed. Unfortunately, we're consuming antibiotics in ways we don't even know. If you can try and go organic half the time, because I know it's a lot more costly, and if you can decrease your food portions, so you're buying a bit less, your meat portions, so a bit less meat, you're doing yourself massive favours. Another thing to consider if you are of the baby making stage is doing some research into delivery of babies via C-section versus natural birth. So when our babies come out our vaginal tract, they actually swallow a bunch of our bacteria. And this is the bacteria that we start with, or our microbiome that we start with in life, massively influences the rest of our life. So that the first 3 weeks of a person's life is one of the biggest factors. So, I mean, I don't want to make you feel bad here. I had an emergency C-section with this lunatic over here. And I feel horrible about this now that I know, what was going on. The reason why there's this whole breast is best kind of campaign is that breastfeeding our children our own natural milk is also one of the best things that we can do. Buffy's putting a comment or two up, which I can't see the whole lot of, but have a look in the comments now, because Buff knows a lot about this. But if you can breastfeed for even a small amount of time versus, not at all, then give yourself a pat on the back, because that's awesome. You're doing massive favors. Okay, I'm going to skip through some of this. Okay, so one thing that I have done to help improve my gut health, so I have a digestive inflammatory disease called colitis, and there's a whole lot of nasty symptoms that come with that. Louie, I need you to be quiet, please. Okay. So bloating, gas, pain, a lot of pain. Like, I've been hospitalized from the pain and been on morphine. I still used to get that pain about once a month, even after I'd done a lot of work on my gut. And then I got told about this awesome essential oils blend about a year and a half ago. And it's a gut tissue and microbiome restorative daily massage. So after Louie, please, Louie. Is that a bit, mate? Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to go downstairs. So after I've moisturized my body, I then put 4 drops of this blend that I make up into an empty essential oil bottle, and I just clockwise, doesn't actually matter which way you do it, but I just rub it around my gut. So it's a bit of self-love. It's a nice little daily ritual that I do. That blend, again, I can post in the comments of this video when it goes in the Essentialist page. So into a 15 ml empty bottle, I do 10 drops oregano oil, 20 drops thyme, 20 cardamom, 30 geranium, 30 lavender, 30 patchouli, 30 celery seed, and 30 citronella. So some of those, particularly those last 2, are only available from our US warehouse. And don't feel like you've got to do all of those, just the ones that you do have, just put them into a bottle together, So if you were just oregano, thyme, geranium, lavender, great, just do that. So again, that was 10 oregano, 20 thyme, 20 cardamom, 30 geranium, 30 lavender, 30 of patchouli, 30 celery seed, 30 citronella. actually it smells quite good. So then obviously I'd give that a shake, and that sits there next to my moisturizer, and I do that every day. So another blend that I've used, because when you've got poor gut health, you often get a lovely little irritating, itchy, sore condition down in your lady parts. And there is a blend that I've used quite effectively. So I put this 3 times a day. I put this combination of oils into a veggie capsule and swallow it. And I'll do that for about 3 days, and it typically has cleared it all up, and then I carry on for about another 3 days. So I use lemon eucalyptus, on guard, cinnamon, clove, oregano, tea tree, Frankie baby, frankincense. Just again, if you don't have all of those, just use the ones you've got, and I do 2 drops of each of those into the veggie capsule 3 times a day. Unfortunately, you can't really make these up in advance. They start leaking a bit, so a little bit annoying, but way better than what I used to do, what I used to get from the pharmacy, which you know, will solve it, but it doesn't really help. Yeah, there are other issues with doing things like that. Okay, so what's the time? Not bad. Okay, gut health and how it impacts all aspects of our health and well-being and our immunity. So I know that immunity is a really hot topic at the moment. So 70 to 80% of the immune system resides in our gut. So trying to get our gut microbiome in a good place is going to have massive positive flow-on effects for your health. I honestly used to get 1 or 2 or 3 flus every winter. I used to get strep throat every month or 2. Like my immune system was a wreck. And I honestly, the last 2 winters, I've had maybe a snotty nose once. And I have a 5-year-old kid who brings home a lot of snotty noses. And in fact, he has a lot less issues these days too. So it really does make a difference. I'm not going to explain the science of how it all works, because it will bore everybody to sleep. But general guidelines for sort of anti-inflammatory and immune boosting diet is to crowd out grains and refined carbohydrates. So again, going for low GI. Introducing prebiotic and probiotic foods into our diets. Eating fats, enough fats, and they should be healthy fats. So things like coconut oil, extra virgin cold pressed olive oil, butter, a good organic grass-fed butter, ideally. Don't actually feel like you need to be on a low-fat diet. You should be on a good fat diet rather than a low-fat diet. Trying to avoid sort of wheat, dairy, refined sugar, trans fats, and corn. They can all be quite upsetting to our tummies and our gut microbiome. So another thing we can do if we're trying to boost our immune system and help our guts sort of sort this out is make up a roller bottle with what I call the Immune Bomb blend. So in a 10 ml roller bottle, if you were to put 12 drops on guard, 10 drops lemon, 10 tea tree, 8 oregano, 8 frankincense, and top it up with fractionated coconut oil. Stick that on the soles of your feet each day. If you don't mind the smell, you can, and if you've got a sore throat, you can put it around the throat area. But if you got up in the morning and stuck that on the soles of your feet or last thing at night before you go to bed, especially throughout the winter, then that's going to really help support your immune function. Okay, now just to give you a kind of I don't know, I just want to make it simple and not overwhelm you. So I've come up with a list of 5 things you should try to avoid and 5 things you should do more of. All these things kind of encourage a balancing diet for our gut bacteria. So the analogy I like to use is it's like your garden, right? If you've got a garden that's out of control and you want to sort it out, you need to weed first, then you need to work on your soil quality, and then you start planting. You're not going to do it in the other order. So if you're just getting started, you start off with these 5 tips that help reduce bad bacteria before you go on and start looking at the things to put into your life to help the good stuff. So you want to be removing the bad stuff. There'll be probably an overgrowth of that, and then you want to start with the good stuff and trying to increase that bacteria population. So the 5 things to help reduce bad bacteria in your gut. Limit the use of NSAIDs. So this is an acronym for over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So a good example of that is ibuprofen. If you're going to take a painkiller for something, then you're best to use Panadol, right? If you really want to use something over the counter, go with Panadol rather than Nurofen or something like that. Reduce the use of antibiotics. So when you go to the doctor and they go, here, just take this prescription, but they haven't actually swabbed you or whatever to find out if it's a bacterial or viral infection. Seriously, if you can try and just ride out that storm of whatever's going on rather than using antibiotics, like, amazing, because those guys go in and they just wipe out all bacteria. So they're going to take the good with the bad. Discontinue using harsh antibacterial soaps and cleaning products. So you can make your own using castile soap and essential oils. Probably should note at this exact point in time, we actually do want to probably be using antibacterial soap. So I don't want to be advising you guys at this time to wipe that out, but this is probably a bit of a rare occasion. Don't overeat meat and try to eat only organic. So a good way to start doing this is to have some meat-free nights. You could reduce your portion of meat and up your portion of veggies. And the last tip is to avoid artificial sweeteners. You're also trying to avoid sugar in general, but if you think that you'll just replace that with artificial sweeteners, sadly not the case. So one of the best sweetening agents to use is honey in your baking, or in your coffee or your tea or whatever. That's a good alternative. There's also some good syrups like agave, I think. I just use honey, to be honest, but there's a lot of good ones available in health food aisles of your supermarkets and things. Buff is actively putting some great comments up here. Thanks, Buff. So do check them out, guys. Okay, so now moving on to my tips to increasing good bacteria and improve your quality in your gut is to eat lots of soluble fiber. So fresh fruits and veggies, legumes, beans, oat bran, barley, flaxseed, split peas, lima beans, black beans. These are all really good sources of soluble fiber. Eating plenty of foods that contain inulin. So onions, garlic, leeks, asparagus, artichoke. Buff is just saying we have a GX Assist supplement, which you can get from the US warehouse. And that guy is really good to do to help wipe out the bad bacteria. That is actually one of the products in doTERRA's 30-day cleanse and restore kit. That's actually an enrollment kit, so if anyone's yet to get started with essential oils and they want to sort out their gut and have a good detox, then I'd recommend looking into enrolling with the cleanse and restore kit. That's available through the US warehouse. It's a 30-day thing, and it's really epic. I felt horrible for the first 20 days the first time I did it, and I do it once a year now, and I'm nowhere near as bad. So that just shows my gut's in a better place. Melissa's saying G-Exorcist needs to be taken with food. Thank you. Thanks, buddy. Okay, so back to the good things that we can be doing more of. Eat whole grains. So trying to avoid more processed versions of them, like flours, and actually just eating the whole version. So making a nice little roast veggie salad with your quinoa or your buckwheat, that kind of thing. Consume fermented foods. So this is massive. I mentioned earlier, doing what we can with probiotic and prebiotic foods. That's going to massively help our positive gut population. So examples are sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha, kimchi. So you can buy these at the supermarket, or you can make your own. So making kombucha and kefir is actually really not that hard. And it's something that I can help give tips on, but to be honest, just Google it and you'll find instructions on how to do it. Take a probiotic supplement. So there are varying qualities around. doTERRA has a really good one. It's got 6 billion CFUs, and that is kind of the recommended, that's sort of the benchmark for a good probiotic. Somebody's just sharing something, their screen with something. So guys, do take a look at the video feed for everybody, and have a look at the comments, because a lot of people are chipping in here, which is awesome. Eat healthy fats: coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, walnut oil, or walnuts themselves, sesame oil, sesame seeds, ghee. So try, cooking with ghee. And when you're doing baking, you can substitute butter for coconut oil. It's bloody delicious. And the last tip I've got is to buy local. Try and eat all organic and spray free as much as possible. And a great way to do this when we're out of lockdown is to go to your local market in the weekend and shop for fruit and veg. And another reason why that's a pretty epic thing to do is, like, if you've got kids, they're little sponges, they learn everything from you. So Louie and I now go on a Saturday or a Sunday to one of the local markets, and we buy our fruit and veg, and we buy it spray-free, organic, it's local. It is so fresh, it tastes so much more delicious, and it lasts in your fridge so much longer because you've bought it in that fresher state. And so you do meal plan and go once a week, and then you just don't even have to worry. And guys, don't feel like adding in all these new foods to your diet is massively overwhelming and hard to do. There's actually nothing wrong with having, say, 10 recipes that you and your family really love that have a good range of good foods in them, and just cycling through those 10 recipes. Like, if you know you like them, just do that. I mean, that's largely what we do. I've got one of the fussiest kids in the world, sadly, and I know what healthy meals he likes, and that's what we eat. So it can be quite simple. That is kind of the end of what I had prepared, because it's probably quite a lot anyway. But I'm really happy to take questions if anybody's got any. One thing I'd recommend doing if you're quite serious about changing, about learning, and learning about yourself specifically, because everybody's really different with what they've got going on, is thinking about working with a health coach. So I'm not a practicing health coach, but there are quite a few out there. There is one young lady who's still studying, but she has started coaching, and she's really amazing to work with. So her name's Hayley Van Stom. I forget her business name, but if you Google her, yeah, get in touch if that's something you're interested in doing, or just Google, local health coaches, and a lot of them will be doing Skype sessions and stuff these days, Zoom sessions. So that's something to to think about. And I can provide more resources to anybody if they want to private message me and ask for specific tips. Buffy, although I obviously used the example of a health coach, there's great naturopaths out there. So Buffy is a naturopath. I don't know if that's actually exactly the title that she goes by, but she's like an encyclopedia on this stuff. And I think also the other thing that's important when you're working with somebody is on a personal level, how you feel about their approach. Because you're talking about some pretty personal stuff. You're talking about your poo. So you got to feel comfortable with them. So I'll tell you what, nobody's going to make you feel more comfortable about talking about your poos than Buffy is. We also have Linda Wharton in our team, and she's a naturopath. Not sure if she's taking clients, but both those two would be epic. There's probably others that are getting put into the comments right now. Yeah, does anyone have any questions or comments? You can unmute yourself. Yeah, Buff, it's all a compliment, mate. I'm actually not seeing the comments that well. I'm going to see if I can change that screen. But yeah, anyone got questions? How do we do the 30-day fast? Cleanse, not fast, yeah.
Ladies, also, sorry, Jo, I was just going to say, if anyone's got questions as well, you can just press the participants button and press raise hand, and then you'll just go into a little queue and Jo can answer them.
Oh, mate, can I? Okay, I'll figure that out. How do we do the 30-day cleanse? Okay, you got to order the kit or all the individual products within that kit from the US warehouse. Most of them are only available from the US warehouse. And then there are a couple of graphics that I've got that are really good, that break it down. So it's 3 stages, 10 days each, and it tells you what to take at what points during the day. So I can post those. I can't do it right here because I just don't know how to do that. I'm going to have a look for these questions now. Participants. I can't see anybody raising hands. So yeah, good point, Melissa. The 30-day cleanse is just supplements. So it's also ideal to be eating as good a diet as you can during that time, and reducing your alcohol, or totally stopping your alcohol, and ideally less coffee too. But the cleanse itself is just supplements. So yeah, honestly, that is one of the best ways to start. I also, on top of that, added in veggie capsules with a couple of drops of oregano in them, and I would take those at 3 times a day for the first 5 days as well. So that's a little add-in you can do. But when you're doing that cleanse, just be mindful, if you're feeling absolutely rubbish, you can cut it back a bit. You can lower the dosage of all of those products, and you can just do a more gentle version. So don't make it hard for yourself. Yeah, anyone got any other questions or comments? Because others may have the same questions, so don't feel, don't be shy, speak up. I've obviously done an epic job if nobody's got questions. It was great. Okay, Buff or Amy, did you guys want to add anything? Any little pearls of wisdom?
Yeah, Joe, I thought the list that you gave of kind of the 5 steps to cleanse and the 5 steps to repopulate were amazing. Would you be able to send us those notes, or just even screenshot me your notes, and I can put them together for some of the ladies?
Oh yeah, totally.
Because those would be great for anyone who didn't get a chance to jot those down.
Cool. Yes, definitely.
And I think, and Amy said some good suggestions there, in terms of just increasing the amount of plant-based matter in your diet. So it's not about necessarily being a specific dietary regime, but just increasing the amount of plants, having more, meat-free Monday, but make it Tuesday and Wednesday as well. There's some great solutions out there. So Kai Box is like a ready-made box. It's got all the recipes in it, and awesome. It's New Zealand owned. They're great. There's some other delivery services which aren't probably not in functioning right now, but one's called V on Wheels, Mila Arena from Tauranga, and she's actually got some of her products stocked in like huckleberries. Those are delicious plant-based meals if you don't want to cook your own. Otherwise, if you are wanting to cook your own, I've got lots of recipes on my blog. I'm actually just going to launch an online plant-based cooking school hopefully next week.
Ooh,
so
exciting.
If you want to learn how to make just easy recipes to include more plants, and it's not fancy, it's things that I can make in 10-15 minutes that are they're going to be tasty for you but also kid friendly, then you can check that out. That's probably going to be in the next week or so.
Epic. Yeah, because simple recipes is so key. Makes you more likely to do it. And I have made a lot of Buffy's recipes, and even my fussy child loves most of them. So although I do have to arrange everything very separately on his plate, we make it work. But yeah, I'll post. What I'll do is a separate post today, and it won't be necessary. It won't be in the comments of where this video gets posted, but I'll do a post on its own today with those 5 things you can be doing more of and doing less of. Because I think that's a really good basic way to get started as well. So I'll do that in the Essentialists. Sweet. Amy, do you want to?
Thanks so much, Jo. That was so good. Yeah, I think I just love the way that you made it really simple and clear. And I think just start with something. Like you don't have to do everything all at once. Just start by pulling out some of those noxious weeds, and then thinking about ways that we can get more veggies in is probably the easiest way. And yeah, for me, like I'm not a vegan, but man, I am just so much healthier. My gut functions so much better. My digestive system is so much better. My skin is so much clearer when I'm eating plant-based, 80% of the time.
Me too. Energy is the chain getter.
And you just feel clear and not groggy. Yeah. Like if you think about how you feel after you've had a big heavy roast dinner, that's not how you want to feel all the time. Like, sure, you can feel like that, once a week or something, that's cool. But if you think the opposite, how you feel when you drink a beautiful, nourishing green smoothie and how light and active and amazing you feel, you want to go more towards that side. So yeah, I think all of the tips that you offered were amazing. And just, keep it simple and just do what you can. Don't get overwhelmed by the minutiae. Like people get so caught up in, I can't eat this sweetener or I can't eat this ingredient. It's not about that. it's about just moving towards health and not worrying about the little details.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think just for everybody, like just overall, lifelong vitality has changed my life. Like it's actually the biggest thing in my life that I can do, the easiest. So taking 2 of each tablet every morning with my breakfast and 2 of each tablet every lunchtime, like that for energy, energy and money spent, it's the best energy and money spent for me to do that, to meet the best outcome.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, absolutely. It's been an absolute life changer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? I've also put in the comments some of the places that I shop from. So Kaibox, like my food delivered weekly, amazing food, beautiful recipes, lots of fermented options in there. I've also put in there Hunter Gatherer Gourmet. Sorry, I've spelt it wrong, but you can Google it. And that's just one of our friends, Julina, has got gluten-free baking options, just slightly better than, because we're not going to give up eating all the yummy stuff, but we can just slightly better options. Obviously, doTERRA can help us replace all of the toxins in our home, all of our cleaning, all of our skincare, supplements, and then we can, go on a journey with the oils. Like we can do everything with these oils. They're amazing. So those are the things that I buy. And also my favorite thing in the world, because I gave up drinking and I still like to have a bevy at the end of the day. I buy hop bucha from New Leaf Organics. I've put it in the comments, so I think it's just newleaf.co.nz, and it's the best frickin' kombucha in the world. So it tastes amazing. It's super, like it's all done in a really traditional way, so you've got lots of really good probiotics in it, and it's bloody delicious. And they're delivering, if you buy a case at the moment, which I buy, you get free delivery. So it's a good time right now for all of you biatches out there that tend to slug back a bottle of wine every night and wonder why your gut bacteria is not getting any better, to maybe replace the beer or the wine with some hot kombucha or some kombucha. And they've also got a really epic one called, I think it's like something, it's purple anyway. It's like their purple leaf kombucha, and it's really high in antioxidants as well as really high in probiotics, which is delicious as well. Friends at Batchwell Kombucha make a delicious mochueka hops flavor as well, and the Earl Grey for the lady. Nice. So yeah, kombucha is a really easy way to, I wouldn't say it's what you should drink instead of water, not at all. It's what you should be drinking instead of drinking Coca-Cola or beer or things like that. And then also I'm going to post up in the, once I put this recording up, a link to Irina Borowski's website, and she does lots of fermenting foods. So you can,
cool, of course.
Once you've weeded out all the bad stuff and you're ready to start putting in some good stuff, she shows us how to make kefir. What else does she do? Sauerkraut.
Beekvers.
Like such good stuff.
Kombucha, kefir, kefir yogurt and kefir water kefir or coconut water kefir. She taught me, and she really makes it simple. She's got instructions and stuff on her website.
Yeah, awesome. And I think the only thing that you didn't cover, or maybe I wasn't listening, was just trying to reduce our sugar intake. Because the sugar really feeds the bad bacteria in the gut. So we want to promote our good bacteria and try and starve out those bad bacteria. So every time you're eating, think, is this increasing the good bacteria in my gut, or is it feeding the bad bacteria? And that's a really good way of thinking about it. Not is this good or bad, but is this feeding the good and moving me towards health, or is this feeding the bad and moving me away from health? So that's a nice little way to frame it in your mind.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
I wonder where Lou Dog is. Do you think he's downstairs, like cutting things up with knives, or?
Yeah, I totally think that.
Or has he got the beanbag and putting the beanbag all over the floor?
Most likely. Actually, he's working on this cute little Spider-Man Lego creation at the moment. Yeah.
You're like, he was like playing happily in the background, and my kids were in here bashing each other, screaming. Like the whole neighborhood was like, wow, what's going on in that house?
Hey,
Yeah.
friends.
Look. Yeah.
Friends, just on the just on lifelong vitality, I'll just reiterate what you girls have said, which is that I've personally also found it amazing. I actually went through my whole clinical year in naturopathy not refusing to prescribe supplements to clients because I thought that's just getting them on more pills. You know, I'm trying to get them away from pills. So I only did nutrition recommendations and herbs, liquid herbs. And then in the years since I've been actually consulting with clients, what I've realized is that even though I would love to achieve optimal ideal health for clients just with a plant-based diet or a plant-focused diet, more, you know, whole foods, all that good stuff I've been talking about, is that often when people are deficient, depleted, which can occur over many, many years of battering your body with lots of stress and processed foods and alcohol and all the good stuff, toxins, not many toxins out there in the environment right now. Has anyone gone for a walk the past week? So clear. But so I have found those lifelong vitalities really, really beneficial for myself and also for lots of clients. And basically how I think about them is they fill in any nutritional gaps or deficiencies that you might have in any one of a number of 100 different vitamins, minerals, coenzymes. And all of those coenzymes are actually required to absorb the nutrients from our food. So even if you're eating a really great diet, if you don't have all the required coenzymes in place, it's just going straight out the bottom. So yeah, highly recommend trying out the lifelong vitality. It is something that you can try that if you don't feel any different after a month, you can send it back. So it's pretty low risk from that perspective. If you're interested in doing the gut cleanse stuff, an option that I often give to people is if you order your lifelong vitality from the US, you can add up to 3 other supplements half price. And so I often will get just 3 bottles of the PB Assist. You can't get the GX Assist through that, but you can get the PB Assist. So if you're wanting to repopulate and boost your gut bacteria over, you know, a 3-month period, then that's quite a cheap way to do it too.
Brilliant. Something you said there just reminded me what I do, because it's just me and Louie, and I don't want to cook, you know, like cook every night just for 2 people. There's something in my head that finds that hard. So I actually cook once, eat 5 times. So I cook a massive meal of whatever I'm making. It doesn't work with everything. And then I have a bunch of Tupperware that I stick each portion into and stick it in the freezer, and I whip stuff out each morning. So I don't even cook that many days a week, but I'm having home cooked meals every night. So that's another good tip that can be awesome. Liz is asking, is lifelong vitality best taken at morning and lunch? People have different experiences with that. I think it says on the packet to take half the dose in the morning and half the dose at night. Some people find they can't sleep very well because of the energy it gives you if they do that. I take all of mine in the morning. Because I know that otherwise I'm going to forget at lunchtime. But a lot of people will take half dose in the morning and half dose at lunchtime. So whatever works for you.
Can I just reiterate what Buffy said, because I totally relate to the whole, I don't need supplements, I can get them from my food. And I've been real dubious about the bioavailability of tons of supplements, but I think because I've been pregnant the last 9 months, and so you get a bunch of blood tests all the time. And my bloods have just been off the charts every time. She's like, how are you, you know, you've got your ideal levels of things, and then you've got like super awesome levels, and that's where I've been every time I've had a blood test. So I like to see the result. Like I feel quite smug.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's from those supplements and stuff, so super stoked. And I'm only on half dose because of the vitamin A levels, so there you go.
Awesome. Yeah, so that actually, another naturopath friend of mine did say that when she looked at the contents, she said half dose if you're preggers, because the vitamin A, like you said. Sweet. Should we end it there, team?
Yeah, totally. Thanks, guys. I miss you all so much, and I need my hugs. No.
Hey, thank you. Thanks so much, Jo, just for that session. I really, really enjoyed it. It's you know, I think it's already such an important topic, but particularly in this environment with, you know, people wanting to focus on boosting their immunity, it's even more important for us to be focused on our gut health. So those points were so awesome. I'd love to get those notes from you. That would be fabulous. And also, just to let everyone know, Amy and I have got child spilling water. Amy and I are doing a session tomorrow night, Thursday, 7 p.m. On Zoom again, and that's going to be focused specifically on immunity and stress. So not so much on the gut, we'll cover that today, but things you can do to boost your immunity, and things you can do to support and you know, stress and anxiety levels, which are a little high for some people at the moment. So that's tomorrow, 7 p.m. If you do want to join for that, then either just let Amy know, or you can book on my website. If you're one of my team, you know what your code is, and you can just book it in there for free. And then we have another session next Wednesday, 10:30, with the beautiful Marique Knight, who's on the call, I think. She is going to be talking about 5 essentials for health. She's a health coach as well, and you call me an encyclopedia of knowledge. Marique is amazing. So yeah, that's 5 essentials for health next Wednesday, same time, 10:30. So if you want to join us for that, we'd love to see you.
Awesome.
See you.
Thanks for my community fix, ladies. I was deeply disturbed when we had to stop these Wednesday workshops. So I have to say I'm pretty happy that we've got this happening with Zoom.
Cool. See you guys. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Hey guys.